Hey everybody, welcome to Coach's Corner. Today we're going to talk about managing expectations.
Managing expectations. What are they? Expectations are what we think we can do or what we want to be able to do. Pretty big things. Managing those is how do we make them relevant? How do we make them attainable? And how do we set ourselves up for success so that we can feel like we've accomplished what we're trying to do? The importance of managing your expectations are not going into a meet with the expectation of breaking an elite level total on your first time after 1 month of training. That sets you up for failure. That will make you very, very upset. The same thing also goes for training. You don't want to set yourself up to try to, we'll say, break your PRs or hit these certain numbers that are well above and beyond what you could be capable of. And then you're going to start getting down on yourself. You start getting a little bit frustrated, not really liking your training it very much. So we're going to manage our expectations so that we can have a good idea and how to also adjust our training for something. If we have the exact expectations based upon what our data from training shows, we can then adjust our training so we can meet that versus just kind of guessing and throwing stuff at the wall.
So what about training programs where, kind of like the conjugate that we do, we're supposed to go up on our ME days, max effort days, you're always trying to break a PR or at least what we say, do a max effort for the day. So how do we maybe manage our expectations there?
So an easy way to do that is to break it by you can try to break your PR by 1 pound, break it by 5 pounds if you don't have chains or if you don't have any change plates. So you can always assume that you want to try to break it by those 5 pounds, assuming that you have the perfect day, assuming that you've eaten properly, had all your proper hydration and all that good stuff, as well as your training. If your training is going down the drain, you're really tired and just dragging, don't set yourself up for failure and say, I'm going to break a PR today by 20 pounds because I want to, not because it's in the cards and my body is ready for it.
So it sounds like a lot of managing expectations is understanding our limitations for our body, our training, and what's kind of going on in our life at that time.
Yep.
Okay.
Basically the formula for success into making sure that our training is meeting our goals and helping our goals keep moving forward.
So I can see how if you have an athlete coming in and they're doing a max effort day and they're not feeling good, they're beat up or work was stressful, and maybe they didn't get enough water on that day. I could see them maybe, I have struggled with even getting close to my PRs. Is that pretty normal?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So on a max effort day or even any other day, you're not always going to hit the numbers you want to. There's multitude of different factors. It's called life. If you don't hit the goals that you had, reassess. Try to, just understand, hey, I did my best for today. Can't go wrong with your best as a starting goal.
I can see too, if I'm a newer athlete or even an experienced athlete, taking the time to really look at my goals and writing them down and making sure they're realistic based on those barriers. So I've seen quite a few athletes come in and they say, I know I can hit these goals, I'm strong enough to, but they fail to take into account their barriers. So things that they have to overcome to get to these goals. So for a lot of people we've trained, it could be family obligations, work obligations with the military. All of a sudden you're out in the field for 3 weeks. Well, there's 3 weeks of training gone. And same thing with lack of sleep. A lack of sleep will really do a number with your stress levels, with your training, everything, and your emotional levels. So, and that's another reason why managing expectations is important, because if you're emotional and you're out there training, if something doesn't go as planned, then you're probably going to react in an emotional way. So managing those expectations, if you know you're having a crap day, you walk into the gym and saying, okay, things might not go as planned, and maybe, taking a look at your training program for the day and seeing if there is room for it to be changed to fit where you're at. And there's nothing wrong with that, because at the end of the day, it's the long game, not the short game, that really matters.
If you wanted to, we'll say, manage your expectations, what would be one of the ways that you would suggest to do it?
I do a lot of goal setting. Like I brought up, a lot of just understanding where I'm at in the moment. Recently this weekend it was my 10th competition, so I'm still pretty new, and it didn't go anywhere as planned. I was stressed out for the last 3 weeks. I barely got sleep the night before because I had a soccer game to go to. And we forgot my headphones, which has always been a vital part of my pre-competition routine. And it just didn't go well. My body didn't feel good. I was cramping up really badly in my back. And I had to make a decision at some point of, is this meet worth going forward? So managing that expectation beforehand, I talked to my coach, who happens to be Ryan, and said, what can we realistically get? Well, there's probably not going to be any PRs out there. And so we said, okay, we're going to do an opener, see how it feels. And at that point, we took each lift as it was instead of what the end goal was of, well, I want to get a PR. It was, let's just see how this lift feels and go from there. And so that was a way that I managed it, and that other people can manage it even in training, not just competition.
So managing goals, or managing your expectations and setting goals, seem like they go pretty much hand in hand. They can then be used for both the short term and the long term. Set a goal, manage an expectation right there that day when you walk in, based off from how you feel. And that's perfectly fine, right? I can do my long-term planning, but when I come back into the gym, if something feels off, do I keep pushing for that knowing that I could injure myself, or do I try to adjust whatever it is, or talk to my coach and get them to adjust it that same day that you're getting ready for it?
I think flexibility is key when it comes to managing our expectations. One thing that I always have anybody do that I do goal setting with is say that we write it in pencil. Goals are always written in pencil. Obviously, most of us use electronic means now. But that means that they can be erased and changed at any time. And this allows us to manage those expectations and to have a backup plan for life. We're not kids anymore who all we have to do is go to school, maybe have an after-school job and play sports. We have life responsibilities. And so being flexible allows us to deal with these responsibilities and still stay in training for a goal that we can do realistically. Overall, it's going to make you a happier athlete.
So if you're properly managing your expectations and properly setting your goals, you should essentially be moving up, right? Always having that good positive attitude, or at least adjusting your attitude and adjusting yourself to understand, hey, I reached this goal today. How important are reaching your goals or managing your expectations? For example, if I go in and I'm setting some huge expectation, right? Like I want to hit a 2,000 pound deadlift and I never get above 1,000 pounds. Why is that a bad thing? Or is that a bad thing?
So the bad thing isn't that you have big goals. The bad thing, and I wouldn't say it's bad, it's just a lack of appropriate planning. So if your goal is to reach a 2,000 pound, you said total?
Deadlift, yeah. Total deadlift,
I was going to say, I don't know anyone who does that. 2,000 pound total, and you're still stuck at 1,000, you need to look at your goals. How long did you give yourself to get there? How often do you look at your training program and make sure that it fits these goals and it's working for you? Your nutrition, your water, your life stress, all of those things go into understanding what our bodies need in order to do better. So I wouldn't say it's a bad thing that you have such a high goal and that you're not there. I think it needs a little bit more time to focus on that planning stage. So I know goal setting is that buzzword phrase right now, but it really does apply here in sport and throughout life. Reviewing the goals, making sure they fit, and having somebody you trust and is objective put their eye on them is really good. You don't need the bro hype man in the gym who says you can do everything all the time. You need somebody who's going to tell you the honest truth from their perspective, and then that way you can use that information to move forward.
This should help give a more positive experience in and outside of the gym, correct?
Yep. Yeah, because it's going to flow over either way. Once you learn how to set goals in the gym, you're naturally going to be able to apply them outside of the gym. So it's good overall.
Good stuff.
I don't have anything else on this, do you?
Nope. That covered everything I wanted to talk about.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk with you again next week. Bye.
If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our channel.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That.